Hi everyone, welcome to my little paintbrush. My name is Miss Cami, and I'm so glad you're here today because that means you enjoy painting and creating, and so do I. So we already have a lot in common and we can have some fun together today. We're going to be painting this stack of books. I have a book lover in my life. I personally am a pretty big fan of books as well. So this was just a fun way to pay tribute to that. I kept it super simple because I wanted you to be able to take this painting and really customize it yourself with the books that you love the most. And hopefully you can switch up some of the coloring as well and add your own touch to this painting. So please feel free to do that throughout the painting. If you're inspired to go a certain direction, please go that direction. Add detail to the books, add titles to the books, all the things. I am just going to show you a few techniques and simple color mixtures, and you can just take it from there, okay? Hopefully you have our paint kit, because if you do, you're going to have a prepped surface. You're going to have the same size brushes I'm going to use today. You're going to have the same paint colors I have, so it makes it really easy to follow along with me and have kind of a relaxing experience. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, we do sell paint kits to go with each one of our tutorials on YouTube. If you want to learn more about that, check the description below. Click on the link, it'll take you to the page, and check out our other paint kits. We have a ton of options. Again, all of them come with a tutorial. If you do not have our paint kit, but you came to create with me today, no problem. Let me show you what I have so that you can either run and grab some supplies or look around the house for what you have that maybe can help you in your process today. Let's go over our brushes first. I'm going to be focusing in on just 3 sizes. These are my favorite sizes for beginner artists. And really, I've been painting a long time, and these are the brush sizes that I go to the most often. I have a number 12 flat, I have a number 2 detail, and I have a number 6 round, okay? I like to tell people that there are no rules to what tools you use when creating. So if you don't have these exact sizes, please don't stress. Please don't not create, okay? You can still have a good time creating with a variety of different tools and different brush sizes. Let's go over our paint. This is my palette here. First, I want to point out the number of piles of white that I have here. This might be a little overkill, maybe too many. I might not use them all, but I do think it's a really good idea to separate your white into different piles so that as you're painting along, you always have an option of fresh, clean, uncontaminated white paint. And that's why I like to separate them. We also have a burnt umber color that's really just sort of dark brown. I've got turquoise, I've got phthalo blue, and I have phthalo red, which is just a pink, beautiful pink color. I also have 2 jars of water or cups. I like to have 2 because I want to use one for washing, one for rinsing, and the one that I rinse in stays pretty clean throughout my creative process. And if I need clean water to dilute paint or when I'm highlighting, I have that available to me. I also have a napkin or a towel or a rag of some kind that I can kind of wipe my brush out on. And today I am going to be painting on a mixed media or multimedia paper. This is a paint paper that I can use all different mediums on. My original piece and the surface that you will have if you bought our paint kit will be a stretched wrapped canvas, okay? That's what I would suggest painting on. The reason I'm painting on a paper today is it's just easier to do when I teach. Also with all my equipment and everything, it's just the setup more than anything else. But you can use a cardstock would work if you don't have any mixed media paper. But again, I would suggest a canvas. It holds up better. You won't have any of the warping or curving in of the edges of your paper, but I will be teaching on a multimedia paper. Okay, I think that's everything. I think it's time to jump in and paint together. Let's start with our background. Again, please make this your own. You do not have to follow me the whole time with colors and variety with the books. Do your own thing. I'm going to stick with some muted tones. You can go brighter. I love bright colors. In fact, this was actually a little tricky for me to keep muted because I kept wanting to go bright, but I like to switch it up every once in a while. Let's get our brush wet to start. Just kind of swoosh it around in water. I'm using my number 12 flat. Getting it wet obviously gives your bristles some water, which your acrylic paint will need, but also it just loosens up the bristles. Okay, let's start with that background. I'm going to go turquoise, but I want to, again, kind of mute that turquoise a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab a nice scoop of that turquoise and bring it over to a pile of white. And I'm just going to start mixing those two together. I might use the whole pile of white, I might not, but notice how I'm pulling white in as I go, not the whole thing until I'm sure that I want it, okay? Again, this helps me save paint. It also allows me to have paint as I go along. If we just mix everything at once, we're gonna miss those opportunities to change our values and our shades and tones. So this would be just a bright turquoise background, which would be beautiful, but I'm gonna pull in some brown. Again, I wanna mute that tone just a little bit, okay? And I'm just pulling in bits of brown to do that. And I like that. That seems about where I want it. A little tip for you as you're doing this is your paint is going to dry a shade or two darker on your surface than it looks on your paint palette. So if you're like, oh, I love that shade, maybe add a little bit of white, because when you see it on your canvas and when it dries, it's going to dry a little darker. Now let's go ahead and fill in our background with the color of our choice. This is beautiful. I'm not getting right up against my books yet, but I'm getting fairly close. A good tip for when you get up close to your subject matter and you're trying to stay out of it is to utilize all your bristles. Flatten your brush completely, pushing the paint to the corner of the brush, and then you can actually get right up there next to the edge and get a nice clean edge. So that's a tip for that. Sometimes we're afraid to push all the way down on our brush, but in fact, that's how we get a nice clean line, clean edge. Now, as I stated in the beginning, I am not painting on a canvas. I don't have edges to paint, but I've been teaching paint class for many years, and if you have painted with me before, you know I am a stickler for painting your edges. The reason for this is because my hope is that you will display your painting, whether it's in your room, whether it's on a shelf, whether it's hanging up. I want you to be proud of it, and I want you to be able to display it and it look complete. And so that is why I suggest, recommend, and teach people to wrap their edges. A lot of artists don't do this, and the reason for that is most of the time they plan on probably framing it, and so they leave their edges undone. But the likelihood of you getting around to framing this or taking the time to do it is pretty slim. If you do, I think that's awesome. But let's wrap our edges just in case. It'll give us a nice completed look, and I'll show you in a second what I mean by that if you're wondering what I'm talking about. Just getting up in these books, right up close to them. Now you can see a few times my paint went into the bow or the book. I'm not stressing out about that. Okay, that's a problem for the next step. We're focusing on this one. Let me show you my original piece and what I'm talking about with the edges. As you can see, this portion of my canvas is painted. Okay, so here's the front, and I'm going to wrap that color. And this painting is unique because all of your edges are going to be your background color. Nothing comes to the corner that you need to wrap around. So that's kind of helpful. So all four edges of your canvas are going to be your background color. All right, let's keep going. I forgot to mention in the beginning, and so I will now, that I'm going to paint at a fairly quick pace. I am surrounded by lights. You guys would not believe the amount of lights that are in this room right now. And so my paint dries unforgivably fast. And so that gives me the opportunity to kind of go to the next step, maybe before you're able to, because your canvas won't be dry. So in that sense, I can move a little quicker than you, but also I have a much smaller window to blend my paint because it dries so fast. So a lot of times I'm going quicker to try and get that blending in. But my point of telling you this is to let you know that you don't have to keep up with me. And most people, in fact, all people that I've painted with, would not be able to. It's just too quick for them. So please, please, please pause this video, rewind the video, step by step, just kind of go at your pace. You do not have to paint right along as quickly as I am, and it's not a matter of whether or not you're good at it. It's just a pace thing. And I'd much rather you paint at your own pace and really be happy with your painting than speed through it because you feel like you have to keep up with my pace. So take your time. I love tutorials for that reason. I also watch tutorials, and I love that I can pause them. I can go get a snack. I can take a bathroom break. I can finish my piece the next day. I don't have to do it all in one sitting. So take advantage of that and just do it at your pace. Coming up against these books. Again, I'm doing my best to stay out of the books. Obviously, there's a reason they're nicely traced on your surface for you. Hopefully you have a paint kit, because that really eliminates the step of having to prep your surface. So naturally, we're going to try and stay out of that nicely sketched outline. However, if you get in the books, don't even worry about it. Painting is very forgiving, especially acrylics. It dries fast. You can cover it up quick. Now let's not forget the inside of our cute bow. I had an inner battle with this painting. I'm not gonna lie. I went back and forth between like flowers and a bow, flowers and a bow, flowers and a bow. I wanted to add something around the stack of books, or, you know, tying them together. And I really struggled with what to do. But I landed on this bow. I saw another stack of books tied with a bow as I was seeking inspiration. And I just loved it. I thought, you know, we're going to go with the bow. Also, bows are really fun to paint. And they are a little easier for beginners than, say, flowers. So we went with the bow. But again, as I've been saying the whole time, you can add flowers. You can add flowers on your book covers. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so here we are with our background filled in. Now I'm going to do something fun that I like to do on most of my object paintings. I'm going to add white around the subject, which is this stack of books. I do this for a couple of reasons, but mostly I would say I love it because I like to take a very flat background and give it some texture, give it some movement. And so this is an easy way to do that while also learning a few ways to blend paint. Okay, so I'm going to take my brush, which is still loaded with my background color, and I'm going to put the corner of it in white, just like this. And I'm going to begin to take that corner and go around my books. Now, depending on the light and everything. Sometimes this is kind of difficult to see, especially when we're painting with light tones like we are today. So if you're wondering, okay, what am I going for here? You should be able to look back at the reference photo and see what I'm doing. I'm getting right up along there, but I also in places I'm just creating kind of like, again, a little bit of movement. Okay, you can maybe ripple some of these lines out and away from the books to give that idea of movement. If your background is still really wet, you might not see the paint isn't offloading from your brush in a way. It's just kind of blending all together. And so you might want to wait for your background to dry if that's the case. Again, mine is already dry. A good way to dry your canvas if you're feeling like really impatient and you want to move on, but it's taking forever because the weather, the temperature in our home, all those things really contribute to how fast our paint is going to dry. So if you're thinking, I don't really want to wait for it, I want to move on to the next step, you can fan your canvas, like grab a paper plate, grab a piece of paper and kind of just fan it. A blow dryer is an option. I'm always a little hesitant because I don't know the age of the artist that I'm suggesting getting a blow dryer. But just keep it on the cool setting, not the heat. And that's not just for fire hazards. The heat will actually change the way your paint dries and the vibrancy of your paint. Which we want to keep our paint nice and vibrant. This is a pretty forgiving step. You can go over it multiple times. You can make some sections really white, others just barely there. You don't want to make it even throughout. You want to kind of have a good time with it and give it some character. And if at any point you're like, whoa, I think there's way too much white in there, or I overdid it, you can go back with your background color and you can put it right back in. But I like to just move around my painting with my brush until I feel fairly happy with the result. Again, check out the reference photo for a little bit better view of what I'm doing. Final of the final project. Words are hard today. Because yeah, sometimes it's hard to see these light colors. But that looks great. Since I'm in my turquoise color here, I'm going to go ahead and jump to my turquoise book. I like to, whenever I can, again, eliminate a step, which for me, this would be eliminating the step of washing my brush. So I'm just going to eliminate it and jump right into my turquoise book, which is for me, the third book down. Okay. Now I want to make sure I'm not doing the same color as my background, but of course I can work with my background color. I'm going to add more turquoise and more brown, quite a bit more brown actually. And I'm going to work in almost like this one is going to come out a little more green than, oh, can you see that? Sorry, sometimes I forget where my cameras are. I'm going to go with this. It's much darker than my background color. And on top of that, we're going to shadow with an even darker color. So it's going to pop off. I'm going to add some water to my paint. I just dipped my brush in water. You can see it kind of dripping off. I'm going to mix the water into my paint. Some people don't understand or know that acrylic paint needs water even right out of the tube or right out of the bottle. It's designed to need liquid, so be sure if your paint is feeling sticky or thick and you're not able to complete a brush stroke without that stroke breaking, be sure to add water to your pile of paint by doing just what I did. Dip your brush in water and then mix the water into it. Again, you can paint this book a completely different color. This is the one I chose. I'm doing my best to paint around the bow. This might feel like kind of a pain in the butt, but the placement of these ribbons and stuff are going to be helpful when you get to that step. So just kind of work around it. Use the square of your brush, that flat edge, push your paint all the way to the corner, like I showed you earlier, the edge of your brush to help you. All these things will make a difference. And if you get paint within your bow, we will be okay. We will be okay. Some of the ribbon lines might be a little confusing, so you can just kind of follow along with me, and I'm going to help you as best I can to kind of see where those go. Because they're kind of disconnected. Our lines are disconnected here and there based on the pattern that we use to create these lines. And the directionality of these ribbons. They're kind of twisting and turning into each other. Now, depending on the colors that you choose for your books, you might need more layers. You might not. Anytime we use darker colors, I feel like they have less pigment, and so we actually end up needing more layers. So I can see that this one might need a few extra brush strokes to kind of finish it off, and you can be the judge of that based on the colors you're choosing. It really depends on how, again, light you go. The more white you put into your colors, your mixtures of paint, the less excuse me, the less layers you'll need. I'm going to go through now and, like I said, do another quick layer in this book. And my paint is already dry and ready to do that. Let me give you just a quick tip though. If your paint isn't dry and you try and go in with another layer, you will actually start to lift paint instead of lay it down. That happens when your paint is in the sticky phase, okay? When it enters the sticky phase, it's starting to dry, it's tacky, but it's not completely dry. And so sometimes we think, oh, it's close enough, it's pretty dry, and so we'll paint over it, and then we'll paint over it again and again and again, and we'll think to ourselves, oh my gosh, it's not laying down, what's going on? And the reason it's not laying down is we're starting to pick it up with our wet paint. When I was a kid, and with bubblegum, this is such a stupid example, but I'll share it. You know, you'd blow bubbles sometimes, and the bubble gum leaves residue on your lips, and then you take the wet bubble gum out of your mouth and you tap it on your lips to get all the residue from it off. That's what you're doing with paint if you're going over it while it's wet. So there's my example for you. Okay, don't need to wash my brush quite yet. I'm going to make a darker value or darker shade of the book that I just painted so that I can shadow it and put any of the fun book details that I want to in it. So we're just going to do one book at a time as we go. So we're working in the same color family all the way up. Now I know that that book was made with turquoise, brown, and white. So to do a darker value, I'm just going to go turquoise and brown. Okay. pulling those in together. And that looks like a nice darker value. I'm going to add a touch of white again for coverage, okay? So there we go. There's my dark. I don't need a ton of it, but there's my darker value. All right, washing my brush now. Give it a nice, good rinse. You can hear it swishing around. People don't realize they actually have to take their brush and hit the bottom of their jar or their cup of water in order to clean it off well. Okay, and I'll wipe the extra paint out. Okay. Same brush. I'll be using this brush for, it might even be the whole painting, I don't know. So I'll let you know when I switch brushes. But if you're feeling nervous at any point in time using this and you want to switch to a smaller one, totally fine. But I'm going to stick with this for a good chunk of the painting. Okay, so I'm going to reload with this color of our dark turquoise book. And I'm going to dip the corner just like we did the white along our stack of books. I'm going to dip a corner of it in the dark mixture that I made. And that dark edge, I'm going to take all the way around my books. So I'm almost outlining with it, but I'm doing it in such a way that the two colors, the light and the dark turquoise, blend together. We like to call it floating, or floating one shade into another. And so it doesn't look like just a rough, solid line. Now, if you don't like this technique and you want to go just solid line, get your detail brush and just outline. In fact, if you're one of my younger artists, maybe under 8 years old or around 8, that might be easier for you to do. I'm going to take that dark edge, I'm going to go around my book. And I will do this however many brush strokes it takes. That's one thing that I have learned over the years teaching. A lot of people would come to paint class and show me just how to do it, one stroke and you're done. It's rarely one and done, okay? It takes time, and that is okay. We go over and over and over and over those spots until they are the way that we like them. Or as dark as we want them, or as blended as we want them. So you'll see me go back and forth with my brush until I'm like, ooh, I like that. That looks good. If you're having a hard time getting a full stroke in without the brush stroke breaking, add water. I think that's probably the one thing that I find newer artists struggling with the most, is remembering the importance of water. It's just not something that people think about. But your brush and your paint desperately need it, okay? I used to tell the kids, I taught a lot of young children, I would say, if you feel like you're painting with Elmer's glue, if it feels sticky, I need you to add water to your paint. You really don't want that sticky feel to your brush. As we get up against the ribbon, know that it's okay to come in the ribbon a little bit to get that solid, as straight a line as we can. It's easier to just kind of go into the ribbon slightly, and we'll fix it. But we don't want to lose our ribbon lines. That's the biggest thing. Okay, now we are going to put in some of our fun, I'm just going to get my brush wet real quick. Some of our fun details. This, with every book, I tried to pick a different design on the back. And so you can choose what to do. Again, I kept it very, very simple because I wanted you to be able to kind of go your own direction. This one is probably my most complicated design because I'm going to do a long rectangle in the middle. But first I'm going to do a line on each side, okay? Almost like my bookend of the bookend, okay? On each side, and you can curve it slightly if you want. This just creates kind of that book has that rounded. But we're just going to do our best to guess just about where to go here, and we're going to try and go even on each side. There's one, and then we'll do one over here. Again, we're doing our best, okay? This is hand painted, and so it's going to look that way. I always tell people, don't judge your painting too harshly. It's not a print, okay? You are hand painting this. It's going to look that way. Okay, not bad though. Now we're going to put that long sort of a rectangle shape in the middle. And I'm just going to go really lightly with my brush. Because I can come back and press harder once I just kind of have an idea of where I want this to be placed. Okay, so I kind of have an idea of where it is. Now I can go clean it up, okay? Again, go right through the ribbon if that helps you. You don't want to make it look like you painted around the ribbon. That's the goal. The ribbon is in the foreground, right? And the book is in the background. That might mean that we have to take some extra time in our ribbon with layers, but it's no big deal. It would be really fun to put a book title in the middle of this rectangle. If you feel so inclined to do that. I almost did, but I thought, you know what? Sometimes we have to look at something blank, almost in this blank canvas kind of perspective, so that we can feel inspired. And so I wanted to leave those titles and everything up to you guys. All right. It's going to feel, I mean, if you're anything like me, this is giving me a little bit of anxiety because I want to clean it up right now, but I just, take a deep breath. We'll clean it up shortly, okay? All right, let's jump into our blues. We've got 3 blue books. My daughter, who's a book lover, loves blue, and so I think in my brain I was really going blue for her. That's what happened. So my brightest and lightest book is the top one, and then this one, and then this is like my most muted book. So I'm going to work down like that, okay? So I'm going to grab, I think I'll move white to blue here. And I'm just going to start mixing this together. Some more white. And I'm going to be working from this for all my books. Okay. So I can just use this shade to change it up. I'm going to do a scoop of brown there, again muting those tones a little bit. There we go. And let's fill in our very top book. Now it's going to look like you've got the book up here in this area, but you don't. You're going to have ribbon right there. So don't stress too much. Just kind of get as close as you can right there to the ribbon, and don't worry about it beyond that. It's so funny mixing colors because obviously I'm working off the reference photo of my original piece, and trying to get it as close to that as I can. But as you're mixing colors, they just automatically, naturally, they're not going to be the same. Most of the time, they're not even going to be really close. I also created this piece in a different lighting than I am now, and so it's just funny to me to look over and see the original. And even though I'm in the same family, like ballpark, it's definitely not exactly the same. Okay, this blue's giving me a lot better coverage, so I probably am not going to have to do 2 layers. Again, your choice on that. And you can kind of see where I'm going with the blue. That's kind of where the ribbon is going to go. Again, those lines don't all connect for you, so you can kind of just see what I'm doing here and follow along. Okay, we've got to create a darker value for that. So I'm going to grab some brown and come up here and just mix some brown and blue together. A little bit of white in there as well for my shadow and design. I'm going to wash my brush. So this is one of my easiest designs. We're just going to have 2 lines in this one, but we're going to do the same loaded line around the book. So a reminder that you can just outline it if that's what you prefer. But I'm going to load with my light blue here. My brush is damp, okay? I'm utilizing that water, and then the corner of it in the dark blue. This one's a little easier. There's less outlining to do because the ribbon just kind of stops us right there. Holding my breath sometimes. Don't forget to breathe. It's so funny because when I paint on my own, when I'm creating, my surface is moving constantly. It's upside down, it's on its side, it's whatever. When I teach in these tutorials, I'm upright, and so I'm finding different twisted angles to try and get to these certain spots, and so I kind of hold my breath. But that's a good reminder to you that you can move your surface around, your canvas, your paper. You don't have to paint upright the whole time. It's really actually not natural to do that, and it's terrible for your back. I have severe back pain because of it sometimes. So move it around. No harm there. But this is how I taught for years, was standing up like this. So I'm kind of used to it as well. Okay, so I'm going to wipe my brush off. I don't want a lot of that light blue on it for these lines. I want it to look like the dark line goes all the way from corner to corner of the book. And if I have too much of that white on it, it won't do that. So I just wiped my brush off and I just got it damp in some water. And then come over to this dark blue again, so just the corner. And we're just going to go 2 lines this time. And again, you just kind of eyeball it. And you can give it a little bit of a curve if you would like. It kind of gives, again, the indication that the book is a shape, a form, okay? It's not flat. Voila, that one was easy, right? Okay, down we go. This book is actually really close to this dark color that we used to shadow the book. So I'm just going to use that, but I'm going to add a little of the light blue in it. Add some more blue, make sure I have enough. Grab a little bit of brown. Kind of want to, you know, stay within your story. Your story is these are muted colors. You want to have a consistency throughout. There's a word for that, an artistic word, and it's gone. My brain is not computing at all with it. Okay, so this is the color we're going to use, and this is the only time I'm going to switch over to my round brush. So I'm going to pop that one in my water for a second, get my number 6 round wet, and come in here with this color. And I'm going to do something, it's kind of a tip that you'll want. I'm going to spin my brush. When I spin it as I load it, the bristles close, and it kind of gives me a point as well, and that's helpful. Okay, so this is the only book that shows some of the pages. It's turned differently, and we're going to paint it this really rich, it's giving midnight blue vibes. And because it's quite a bit darker and brighter, we've got dark and bright kind of in the same tone here, it's going to need multiple layers. All the way into that ribbon. Continue out the other side. Doing our best here to stack our books nice and straight and flat. These lines are hard. It's almost harder to paint shapes like this than that require you to kind of have a steadier hand, because you can see the mistakes. You can see any wobbles. So be really kind to yourself, because it happens. And again, I always have to remind myself when I paint and others when I'm teaching them, because we live in a world with all this amazing technology, especially now with AI, we're so used to these like perfect images. And this is hand painted. This is not meant to look like a print. We are hand painting this. We're going to come through when we do the pages, and we can clean up some of these edges within the book. So this step in particular, just do your best. We'll use the white to kind of clean some of it up. And some of these books just might be a little old and worn down and used a lot, and no problems there. I actually painted this several times when I was creating it, and my first version was very much more used books. They were kind of a little bit more worn out. And I landed on doing it this way instead, again, so that you could create the personality of your books. because it is your painting. Again, go into your ribbon a little bit so it looks like, doesn't look like you're painting around. I thought about just not penciling the ribbon in and just letting us freehand that at the end, because freehand ribbons are beautiful too. They kind of take on a personality of their own. But I know that can be kind of stressful if you're not used to painting bows and ribbons. So they're in for you this time. But maybe after this you can do some ribbon painting and have some fun with it. Okay, I'm gonna go over it one more time. Like I said, this will probably need 2 layers. And mine is dry and ready to roll. I like this nice dark blue, just kind of right in the middle of this stack of these brighter colors. You just have this midnight almost blue hanging out here. Really fun. And kind of a break from, you know, putting in details on your book binding. You can kind of let this one just do its own thing, which is kind of fun. Again, we will wait to really clean up the inside of the book and kind of try and make our lines a little bit more even when we go in with the white, but try to get right up next to the book. You can choose if you want to get the dark blue that we are mixing all of our colors from. You can choose to take that and kind of do an outline, and I might later, I can't decide yet if I want to, right under the book to create kind of a shadow. But that green one is casting a pretty good shadow for us, so I might just leave it. I don't know, I'm gonna let it go for now though, and move on to my last blue book, which is my most muted blue, okay? So back we go. I'm gonna take a nice big scoop of brown and really mute my blue right down here. Add some more blue. More than anything, I want to make sure that each one of my blues has a completely different personality. It's not the same throughout, okay? So that's really what I was focusing in here. I want each of them to have their own look to them. I like that blue. You can tell the difference. You can see, because this is the one we just did. Here's our lightest and here's our last. So it's good if you can see those colors next to each other. That will really help you as well when choosing the color. So let's fill it in. I'm back to my flat brush, so I put my round away. I want to make sure I have a nice clean edge, as clean as I can, up against the book I just painted. And this is our bottom book. So this one is going to determine that last stack at the bottom and how the painting is ending, okay? Great opportunities to clean up. This is one of those paintings that's going to look cleaner and cleaner with every step. It's going to come together a little bit more, okay? So again, this is one of those things that's really hard for me. I get impatient and I just want to know, is it going to look okay when I'm done? And this is a good example of just staying the course and doing one step at a time and allowing the painting time to tell its story and allowing yourself the opportunity with each step to improve it. You can already see between these two books how clean the lines are starting to look. And that's going to happen with every single book we complete, especially when we start right in the middle. It's like with every book we complete, we're going to see more and more of that clean, finished product, masterpiece, whatever word you want to put there. And then when our ribbon is in, that's really going to bring it home. That's one thing, layers in painting is so important. We tend to just focus right in. It's like in the beginning, I'm sure the background to you was such a big deal, right? That first step in our painting always seems to be so important. Like, I've got to make sure this background is really, really good and looks so amazing, and these white streaks around my books look so perfect. And now I'm sure you don't even notice that because now your painting is building and building on each other with every layer, and so those steps aren't as important as they were in the beginning. And that's how these books will kind of end up when you put that ribbon on over them. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't even need to worry so much about that one thing that had me stumped for so long. Okay, beautiful. Let's make our nice dark shadow color. Some more blue over here. Man, I am really getting in this brown. This brown is like, you're almost out. And I'm like, no, I will fight for every last bit of brown. Actually, I have plenty of white, and it's the brown that I'm losing here, but that should be enough. Okay, so you can see my tones here. All right, values, tones, values, shades, all the things. I'm going to rinse my brush because I used it to mix that darker paint. Rinse my brush. And now I'm going to shadow and design my bottom book. Okay. Again, make sure your book is dry for this step so you don't pick that paint up. I'm going to load with my book color and a nice chunk in the corner like this. And here we go, all the way around the book. Right up against the one on the top, creating a nice clean line. Okay. And because they're in the same family, it's kind of fun. You can go into the book a little bit, the one that's on top, and it doesn't even really show, which I kind of like. But like I said, this is almost going to create the shadow for you of the blue book that's on top. And that's why I say you might not even need to paint that in or to add an outline or anything, because it kind of naturally shadows throughout. Now, if you're not able to do these strokes like I'm doing without breaking your stroke, but you'll know when you have a broken stroke, it kind of almost feathers away and you're like, wait, there's no paint right there. It just breaks right off. When that's happening, it is a water thing, and I know I keep bringing that up. But a lot of people will say, Miss Cami, it's because you're painting on paper or whatever. It's actually not. This paper does not make a huge difference with that. Water needs to be in your paint, period, or you're not going to have a good, smooth brush stroke. And that's just a fact, okay? We're almost done. Come along the bottom of this one. We're getting bumpy here on the This book is growing. With every brush stroke as I try to even it out. It's just growing. There we go. Lovely. Actually, this is probably my favorite of the blue books. I just really like the color of it. Okay, let's do the same thing we did with our bright one up there. Let's wash our brush or wipe out the blue, the light blue, and just use a damp brush with half of it dipped in our dark to make the designs in this one. And what I want to do with this one is I want it thick, so maybe even more than half of our brush, and then a thin, okay? So I'm going to come in here. This is my thick one. I'm going to press all my bristles down and probably go over it again to really emphasize that it is thicker. And then do this side. Again, giving it a little bit of a curve, indicating that this is a form and not just a flat shape, okay? Let's see, come back here, go over it again, really thickening that line, curving it down. And as it kind of fades in and out of each other, let that happen. That's why you're loading your brush this way, so it kind of does a little fading. That's a little wet still. I don't want to pick that paint up. Okay, let's wait to do another layer on that line because it's not fully dry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse my brush and now load it with less paint and do a thinner line. I'll show you. My brush has less blue on it now, okay? And this is going to be my thinner line. Again, you can do whatever designs you want on your book. These are the ones I've chosen to do. You could do an oval down the middle. I really like how that one's faded. Whatever you want to do, the sky is the limit here. Okay, I'm going to come through, finish off my thicker one before I do my thinner one over here. I like that one. Do you see how this keeps breaking right there? I think it needs to dry completely before I keep going in and in. It's doing exactly that pickup thing that I told you about. So I'm going to leave that alone for a minute. And let's just hop on over and paint the inside of this book. I'm going to get some brown and white and mix them together to make this really, really light brown, okay? Our pages are a little worn and that's what that's indicating, okay? So we get that and let's fill in this book here. And again, go through your ribbon, and this is when you have the option to really clean up the inside of this book. And because this color is quite a bit lighter, I'm even less concerned about going through my ribbon, because this one will be pretty easy to cover up and I can see my lines right through it, okay? So cleaning up the edges there. Lovely. Now you can do fun things with this book. You can paint little lines to indicate pages. So many different things that you can do with this one. Definitely go with your instincts on that and have a good time with it. There's just, the sky is the limit, right? On things that you could do here. So definitely have fun with it. And make it your very own in whatever way you want. Lovely. I just love that little touch of brown in there. I'm going to add a little bit more brown over here for a nice dark shade so that I can add a little bit of a shadow around what I just did. Same technique we've been doing the whole time. Just put some of that light color back on there, corner of that dark one, and this is easy because it's just top and bottom here. Creating kind of a worn book, one that has been well loved. This can be the mystery title of your books. Maybe that one that you love so much, that can be this one, because nobody can see the title that you choose for this one. But this creates a really fun shadow around your book. And again, making it look worn. Lovely. Keep going. Along all our edges. Stop and add water if you need to. My brush is doing pretty well with this. As far as water goes, it's holding it really well right now. And I just love how that translates. I'm going to darken this section too, right here, because that's where our fingers would turn the page over and over again, right? And that would be worn too. Okay. Love it. It's coming along, you guys. We're closer than it feels, I promise. If you're feeling really tired though, go take a break, get a snack, drink. I'm going to finish up this book now. My damp brush, nice amount of the dark blue in there so I can come through and look at that. It just stays so much better. Like I said, you've got to let it dry. And then I had to eat my own words because I didn't let it dry. I was picking up the paint. Okay, now a little less paint on there, and we'll do our thin line. This one actually is looking a little thick there, but I've got that blue. I can take it back a little. Thicker line and thinner line. And again, using this technique, we're kind of creating these different fades and worn and torn kind of look throughout our painting. So if that starts to happen with your brush stroke and you're like, that kind of faded weird right there, or that ended different than I planned or whatever, kind of just let those things happen because it gives so much personality to your painting. Just coming over here and adding a little bit to this one so that they kind of match up a little more. Lovely. Okay, we have one more book to paint before we're hopping into our ribbon and our highlights, and then we're done. Then we're on to signing. I wanted to do a purple book because you've got this pink ribbon, and so purple kind of ties the blues and the pink together. So I'm going to do a nice purple book. I'm going to get my pink and I'm going to use my blues, okay? Oh, and my white apparently. And I'm just going to start mixing pink into this pile of blue that I've been using the whole time until I get the purple that I want. There we go. The more pink you use, the more you're going to go into that sort of plummy, starts to really change from plum to that purple. And then as you add the white, the more blue you're going to stick kind of in lavender tones. I like this purple. We're going to go for it in our final book. I'm going to turn my towel around here. Here we go. Okay. Love. I like to do a couple strokes and then like step back and add some water to make sure again that I like it, because remember it dries lighter, right? So just adding some water to my pile of paint real quick because it is thick. It's been hanging out here for a while now. Okay, here we go. Get right up under that beautiful blue book. I think my favorite next to each other in this stack is that blue and purple. I absolutely love how they look next to each other. It's just, I don't know, it made me so happy when I created it, and I kept thinking I wanted to change the color of my stack and I couldn't change these two. So they kind of started the story, and it just stayed that way. I love it so much. Okay. Go in here. Again, I am doing all my cleanup work. I'm getting right under these books and on top of these books, and I'm cleaning up my lines. And I'm saying, here it is. This is when it starts to go, okay, I can relax. I don't have just a sloppy painting. It's all working out okay. This is that moment. And then when our ribbon happens, it's really that moment and it's just perfect. Beautiful. The turquoise and pink, or yeah, turquoise and pink also make a really pretty purple. If you want to do a purple stack or a different purple bow instead of a pink bow, you know, you could play with those two colors because they really do make a beautiful shade of purple as well. Okay, it's coming together. I'm eyeing over here on my other screen because I kind of get to see it in both ways, and it's really coming together. Okay, let's make our dark value now because our light one is in there, and while it dries, we can make our dark value. Scoop of pink right into our blue, dark blue from our book below. I just love how you can kind of use all these colors back to back to back to back to back as you go. And really, I really prepared in my white category. I am prepared with the whites, and I'm shocked that I didn't use as much. I thought I was going to use so much white on this painting, but I didn't. I based that off of how much white I used when creating the piece, and I used a lot more white, probably because I was messing up and going over and redoing over and over again. All right, washing my brush. Let's go ahead and shadow this book and give it its character. A little bit of purple on there, light purple, chunk of the dark. Here we go. Make sure your book is dry. I absolutely love it. I think purple is one of those colors that isn't appreciated enough. I just feel like it needs to come back. Like purple needs to have a comeback. I just don't, I've never felt like it was as popular as it deserves to be. Like I feel like purple deserves to be in the spotlight. And I feel like maybe we're just afraid of it. It's like a harder color to wear, I feel like. I don't know, but I think it needs to come back. I think we need to bring it back, and I'm bringing it back with this book, okay? This is my beginning of bringing purple back. Just concentrating on getting some nice clean edges, as clean as I can around here. Yeah, I actually think a different shade of purple for the ribbon would be pretty if you were like, I want to completely stay out of the pink family. And I want to stay in these cooler tones. I think you could. And I would love to see it. So if you choose to do that, please send it my way. It was very hard to figure out what colors to do in this book. Stack. Okay. I'm washing and rinsing my brush. This book I chose to do 2 of the same width lines on either side. So I'm just going to use a damp brush dipped in my dark purple to do that. Here we go. 1 and 2. Just like so. That one got thicker, so why not make this one thicker? Maybe not. We're just going to let it tell its story. Because that's what our brush decided to do. Come over here to this side. Try and tell the same story now, I guess. Sometimes the texture of paper is harder to get what a canvas can give you. So sometimes I realize, oh, I'm not getting what I got when I created this piece, and it's because I am painting on paper versus canvas. It's got a light on it that's glaring, kind of different, but guys, there's our beautiful stack of books. I'm going to wash my brush really well, and I'm actually going to highlight my books before I do my ribbon, okay? So wash your brush really good and then rinse it off. I want it to have some clean water in it, and I want it to be damp but not drippy, okay? And then I want to dip it in white paint, the corner like that, a nice chunk of it, okay? And I'm going to come up here to my blue book and scoot along the toe of my brush and then along the flat. And then toe to flat and fade down, okay? Let me show you that again in this turquoise one because my purple one is still wet, okay? I'm going to glide along the toe of my brush for a skinny line. And then I'm going to switch to the flat for a thicker line and then fade it out, okay? That's your brush stroke breaking, this right here. When you pull it out and it starts to break. See that? It's not a solid anymore. It breaks off. I'm going to come over here and do the same thing, but downward. Okay. You can go over these a little more. Sometimes the water fades it a little too strong, and you want to bring that highlight back a little stronger. You can do that. For this one, I'm going to go into this white area, or brown area, sorry. And I'll come back in a minute and do the blue. My brush is getting dry, so I'm going to dip it in some water, loosen it up again. And then same thing, I'm going to go toe along the toe of my brush and then flat. So toe as long as I can and then turn. Toe and turn. And then let it break off. Come back to it, thicken it up a little bit. The water is going to cause just this fun fading effect. and that's what you want, but sometimes it fades really, really fast too quickly and you have to go back over it a time or two, which is what I'm going to do up here, just to give it that little bit more water here. I'm doing the highlights first because I'm going right through my ribbon. Let's do our purple one. Just make sure there's not too much water in my brush. Okay, and then same thing on this edge here. Awesome. Now I'm going to put the teeniest bit because I need a much thinner line right. Oh, that was not thinner. Wipe that off. I need to wash my brush. I need to load with less paint to get a thinner line right there, because I'm working on a thinner area, right? This book. But same idea. And then a little bit along this as well. Just a little touch. Just like that. Okay, let's hop into our ribbon and finish this beautiful stack of books up. Our ribbon is going to be pink. First thing I'm going to do is grab a nice chunk of brown and mix some brown and pink together. Okay, this is going to be my darkest value. So I'm going to come and get as much of that brown up. I used all of my brown. Okay, here's our darkest value. We're going to use this to shadow and give detail and depth. Okay, so we want to make sure we have some of that, but then we want to mix white with some of it to get our actual bow color, which is this right here. Okay, here's our bow color, and there is our shadowing color. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to take a minute to loosen this up with some water so I can get a nice brush stroke. And I'm just going to wash my brush. It's getting kind of thick with paint. I'm kind of just rinse it off here so that I can easily brush in my ribbon and have a good time with it. Okay. All right. Load with that light pink and let's fill in our ribbon, and the whole thing is going to come together so well now. I can't wait. Let's start with the knot here in the center. And of course, if you chose another color for your ribbon, I am thrilled. So there's our knot. And then as we paint in our ribbon, we can go from the toe to the flat of our brush, back and forth, depending on the thickness of the ribbon. Because in some areas it's much thicker than in others. Some of it's taken over there. Looking good. We're going to give some fun detail to this ribbon. Really shows all the twists and turns that happens when you tie a bow. Again, my words are struggle today. And around. Coming back in. You're more than welcome to use your round brush for this if you just feel like that's what you need. No problem at all. I oftentimes actually feel more in control with a flat brush, and so that's what I like to use. Just adding a little more water. And then we're going to take our ribbon down here. Okay, this is when we're going to clean up everything that happened as we were filling in our books. All the things that took place, this is when we're going to really find that beautiful, clean painting. It's already coming together. Obviously, we're going to need some layers here, so don't panic yet. Especially along some of these darker book colors. But you can already see how it's going to come together. Hopefully you can see that. I'm definitely starting to feel better. Still, after all this time painting, I still am like, wait, is this gonna look okay when I'm done? We all do it. We all panic. Okay. Now we're going to go down the center. Our ribbon is holding our stack of books together. Gets skinnier as it goes up and thicker as it comes down. Like a tree trunk. trying to keep as steady a hand as I can, because what would be really devastating is messing up our books after all this. And I could see myself doing that. So that's the first layer in of our ribbon, and you can see it coming together. Now do another layer if you can, if your paint is dry, but just start where you started in the beginning, because that's going to be the most likely driest portion of your ribbon. And this second layer should be pretty quick. Shouldn't take a whole lot of time because we've already put our shape in there. And now we're just adding that extra layer for coverage. It looks like 2 is all I'm gonna need. Again, it really comes down to the color you chose for your ribbon, how much white is in it, you know, all those little things are really gonna make a difference on how many layers you need. So if you need more than 2, no problem. Just take the time, let the painting dry, go back and add another layer. It also depends on how much we went into our books too. Some of you may have been able to get through that without getting hardly any book into your ribbon. And I applaud you for that if that is the case. And so maybe you don't have as much to clean up as I do. But I have some cleanup to do. So pretty. What is it about bows? You put a bow on something and you're just happy. I don't know. I'm a girl mom, so maybe it's just me, but I'm like, oh my gosh, it has a bow. It's so happy. It's so cute. My girls won't let me put bows and ribbons in their hair anymore, but I used to. Guys, I'm proud of us. I am very proud of us. Okay, let's start working on the shadowing, okay? This might get a little tricky. I'm washing my brush really good because it is drying up. This might get a little tricky as we go, so be patient with yourself. I want to kind of give some indication of movement in our ribbon, and so I'm going to try and teach you how to do that. But sometimes it can get a little confusing with where all the lines are going, so just do your best and we'll work through it. Let's load with our light pink, and then remember we made that darker value. Let's put the corner of that dark value in, and let's start by going around the knot. And we're going to go all the way around it. Okay? All the way around the knot. I love that step. It's like, oh, I see what you're doing. It's a bow. It's like you put the knot in and it's like, I get it. I get what we're doing. Okay. Now we are going to paint the base. Is going to connect up here to the base of this. So it's almost like we're painting a bow within a bow, a loop within a loop, okay? just bear with me. We're going to go around. Let's see how long we can go around without our stroke breaking. And then it's going to meet at the base of this one. So this one's going to come back around like that. Okay, see there? Kind of, see it? So this is going to come around and then it's going to meet the base of that one. And the base of this one meets that one. Your ribbon is curling in and around. Okay, so let's try and do the same thing over here. As best we can. It's kind of tricky. Again, this is something you can just outline instead of doing with a flat brush. Let's see how I want to approach this side. I think I'm going to come, there we go, we're just going to go around and then the base. I always favor one side of my ribbon, always looks better than the other because of, you know, what hand I'm painting with. Such is life. And then we will go this way. We will meet there. Now let's go down the center. Just continuing to get my brush loaded properly and make sure there's water. So let's do this side. We're going to start with our left side and just go straight down. See how long that brush stroke was? That's super satisfying and really says a lot about the consistency of my paint. So I'm just going to do that line, let it dry, and then I'll do the other one. And while it dries, I'm going to bounce over to this swirly ribbon here, and I'm going to start on the top. I'm going to create that shadow on the top. A little bit of white in my brush, but that's fine as it offloads. It's not bothering me. I come and then curve and go straight over. Like I'm going to the toe of my brush. So I'm flat and then I'm coming to the toe. Okay. And then I'm going to meet it right there. So the toe will come down here and then meet the flat of my brush right there. Okay, just like that. So that ribbon is curving too. What a fun detail to add that really brings this painting to life. So we'll hop over now and then do this side. Same concept. I'm going to come down with the flat of my brush and then I'm curving with the ribbon here. And as I'm curving, I'm going to come back to the flat. So toe to flat. Okay. And then you can come back and go over it to give a smoother transition right there. Beautiful. Love the curving ribbon. It looks gorgeous. And now we'll go down the other side of our center here. Need a little moisture in my brush. almost done, you guys. This was really kind of a painstakingly like layer by layer painting, but I hope that it's coming together for you like it's coming together for me. I'm really loving it. Come along the bottom and then back up. This is a really fun introduction to bows and ribbon that you can play with a lot more, and I hope you do. I'm going to give my brush a really good wash, really good rinse. It's time to highlight our beautiful bow and then sign our name. So I've got a damp brush, dip the corner of it in white, just like we've been doing over and over again in this painting, corner by corner. And let's start highlighting our beautiful bow. The shadow's on the bottom, so the light is on the top, right? And we're going to let the brush stroke break here and there to kind of give that fun cohesiveness that we have throughout the painting. I'm often asked when I teach, and especially when I taught in person for many years, Miss Cami, do we have to highlight? For some reason, the kids really, really did not enjoy the highlights. And I always told them it was their painting and so they could choose. But the truth is, highlights, in my opinion, are the most important step of the painting. They wake up your painting, they bring it to life. And so I would always say, you don't have to highlight, but that's how you wake your painting up. And then they would always opt to highlight. And just as you can see here, as we're highlighting, it's doing just that. It's waking up this bow and really bringing it to life. I'm bouncing between the toe and the flat of my brush as I'm doing this. I'm letting the brush strokes break every once in a while to create some fun texture. And then we're going to go down the center of this long stretch of ribbon, letting the stroke break here and there. So fun. It's so fun. I love it so much. Honestly, I think clouds and ribbon I could paint all day. Come right here and do a little bit of white on this inner. It's fantastic. It's so fun. Let's not forget one of, if not the most important steps. Let's sign our painting. And while we sign, I want to remind you that I would love to see your stack of books, and I want you to personalize this. If you've followed me up until this point and you have exactly what I have right now, I want you to stop and ask yourself, what can I do to personalize this painting? What kind of details can I add to these books? You know, what titles can I give these books? How can I make this painting that much more my very own? And I want you to do that, okay? Because that was really the point of this creation. I wanted to leave it blank enough for you to give it your own personal touch. So do that and make sure afterwards that you sign your name. That is such a good way to take ownership of our art. And even though sometimes we feel maybe not so happy with our results, especially right after, because we're going to critique it right after. We've been really close to it for the last, hour and a half. And so we're going to be picking it apart. But if we step back, maybe give it a day or two and come back to it. We're going to be really proud of it, and we should always sign it. We should always own our work, okay? Thank you for painting with me. Please send me pictures. Give me a thumbs up if you liked this painting. If you learned something new, I would love to hear all about it. And come paint with me again. Bye.